Welcome everyone. I'm Shay with Curate Soul. Welcome to September. Here is our vlog for our monthly bhavana. So bhavana is the energetic or theme that I work with all month long, whether it's in a public yoga class, working one-on-one with clients, or in my own personal practice. These are the themes and kind of energetics that we're focused on during this period. This year, what I did was I took one of my favorite oracle decks, the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit by Kim Kranz, and I've pulled a card for each month. So I did sort of like a wheel of the year. And for that month, the animal that I drew, I'm using those characteristics, those qualities, the energetics of that particular animal and the element of that particular animal to interweave yogic and Ayurvedic philosophy. So yoga's sister science of Ayurveda, where yoga is connected to this idea of being able to prepare the mind and the body to leave the physical form. Ayurveda is connected to the idea of living in this physical form and optimal health so that we can practice yoga and walk our spiritual path. So each month prior to this month, we've had a different animal that we've worked with, and our animal for the month of September is the dragonfly. And here's the card for this month. So the element of the dragonfly is air. The dragonfly is most certainly a creature of the air. But you also see this downward facing triangle, which is the symbol for the earth element. So that's the triangle in blue. And then the symbol for the air element is that upward facing triangle with the line through the top third. So we have kind of the qualities of two elements here that I'll dive into a little bit more as we look at this animal this month. So what I'd like to do actually is start with the element of air. Since this is a winged creature, the dragonfly spends a lot of time in the air, but also will spend some time lighting on the earth or certain objects that come from the earth, plants, trees, grass, what have you. The qualities first of the dragonfly is that the dragonfly is this master of light, illusion, and the mind. The dragonfly is a symbol of the mind because, like a dragonfly, the mind tends to move quite a bit and quite often. And so it's always shifting, it's always shimmering, it's always changing. Also, you may notice if you've ever watched a dragonfly, it doesn't stay still very long. So again, that's that mobile quality of the mind, but also of the dragonfly. But looking at its coloration, we can look at the qualities of illusion and of light when we look at the coloration and how the sunlight will kind of hit the different areas of the dragonfly. So its wings may seem to shift color, as well as its body. That also kind of creates this illusion of you're not exactly sure what color the dragonfly may be. Sometimes it looks black or dark brown, other times it's these beautiful jeweled colors. And so again, it's that representation of the illusion that our mind has the tendency to create. And going back to this air element, I want to speak to kind of this transitional period that we are in currently. We are in a seasonal transition where we are moving from the pitta season, so summer season, pitta being the dosha of fire, into vata season. Vata dosha is the combination of the air and space element. So again, that air element is showing up for us. The qualities of air related to Ayurvedic thought are dry, cold, rough, light, subtle, and clear. And so these qualities are beginning to show up a little more in nature. Things like the temperature is changing. Things are becoming a little bit cooler. We're moving out of that period of kind of the summer thunderstorms and more into kind of the clear skies. You may notice that the wind will tend to blow a little bit more this time of year. And as we move into Vata season, deeper into autumn, you'll begin to notice that the leaves on the trees are changing their colors. They're becoming really dry and rough, and then they fall from the trees, and then there's a lot of movement, leaves blowing and scattering around on the ground. So if you take a look at these qualities, you'll see all those vata qualities of cold, dry, rough, mobile, clear, and subtle. And because we are not separate from nature, those qualities are going to begin to increase in us as well. And so we certainly want these qualities of air, but we want them in a balanced way. So when that air quality is balanced within the mind, within the physical body, we're able to feel like we can easily go with the flow. We're very adaptable. We can change directions easily. We feel that the mind is in the flow, or that we have a lot of creative flow going on. The mind is very clear, even though it may be able to move and adapt quickly. There's not any sort of confusion. It's very clear about the direction we need to go, or the thoughts that we're having, the emotions that we're feeling. And then there's just like this subtle aspect that we are very aware of, maybe the more subtle nature of our thoughts and things like our breath, or the physical feelings that we are having, whether it's in our physical body, whether it's in emotions that we're having, thoughts that we're having, that there's some recognizing some awareness of these more subtle aspects of our nature. However, when we have too much of this air element, which can happen easily as we move into air season, vata season, because those qualities are dominant in nature, they tend to naturally increase in us. What happens is we may notice that our skin becomes dry, or we feel cold frequently. Things like dryness in the physical body, not just our skin, but dryness in our digestive tract, where our digestion becomes variable. Sometimes it feels maybe sluggish. Other times it feels like it's great. Sometimes it may move a bit quickly. And so we can experience things like gas or bloating or digestion, discomfort in the digestive tract. Because things are becoming dry. It's not as lubricated, things aren't flowing, things feel a little stuck. And so just beginning to pay attention to that as we're entering into vata season. Also, excess air in the mind means that the mind may be moving rapidly, but we're not able to hold on to thoughts, to experiences, to memories, to things that we're learning. We're very forgetful. We can become forgetful. Or there's not a lot of clarity around our thoughts. Things might seem a little confusing. And so that's the aspect of a little too much air in our nature. In Ayurveda, it is what's suggested is that we balance with opposites. So as we're moving into vata season, the season of the air element, we want to balance with the opposite qualities. So things that are warm, moist, heavy, sticky, slow, the gross aspect as opposed to the subtle aspect. So we want to bring those qualities in. Stillness is a beautiful practice this time of year, especially to balance that mobile quality of air, that stillness, quieting the mind, slowing the breath, allowing the physical body to rest a little more. Summertime, we like to go and do a lot of things, hang out with friends, maybe vacation or travel. And so as we're moving into vata season, we want to really become aware of slowing down, taking time to kind of linger and take things a little slower so that we can stay in balance. And so that leads me kind of to this next aspect of some yogic philosophy that I'm incorporating into this month's bhavana. I'm going to look at two things this month. We are looking at vichara as well as viveka. So vichara is often translated as deliberation or self-inquiry. Also to move or roam, to obtain knowledge of. And it's different than meditation in that we are sitting in this kind of quiet contemplation. We're still turning our senses inward, but we're allowing the mind to really roam and wander. We tend to have like a focus, a question that maybe we've asked ourselves, And for those of you that have been studying with me for a little while, you know that I mention and often offer some sort of self-inquiry lesson or question in public classes or working one-on-one. It's something that I do in my personal practice. I pull an oracle card, or I have a particular question that I'm working with that I'll journal on in my daily practice. So this self-inquiry, this vichara, it may feel a little more accessible than the traditional idea of meditation, where we're often kind of led to believe that we have to completely empty the mind, and the mind needs to be still. So when we're allowed to kind of have this point of focus and then follow this thread to deepen the awareness of our tendencies, our habits, or something that just may be weighing on our heart, this may seem more accessible instead of kind of like completely clearing the mind. You still receive a lot of the same benefits as meditation because you are still turning the senses inward. But again, it may seem a little more accessible, especially for those that may not have a traditional meditation practice, or if you're new to meditating. This is a beautiful kind of gateway into a meditation practice. So again, vichara. This is the time of year that we are kind of reflecting on all that we have planted, especially at the beginning of the year. If you go back to the earlier vlogs this year, we worked with this idea of planting seeds or beginning to understand our deeper desires. At the beginning of the year, many of us are traditionally setting New Year's goals or intentions or resolutions. It's the time for planting new things. And so this time of year, as we move into autumn, we've moved through kind of this period of planting, of nurturing these seeds or these desires, their growth, and then harvesting. And so now's the time that we can look back at all of the successes that we've had, all of the challenges, any sort of loss, anything that may have not turned out the way that we had thought or hoped or desired. And so this time is beautiful for that vichara, that self-reflection, that turning inward and that contemplating. This allows us to move into the darker season of late autumn and into winter, when we begin to prepare to plant seeds for the next year. So we need this reflection. We need this self-inquiry, this contemplation. So some questions that I'll kind of offer here about vichara are, where in your life could you use a little more clarity? Is there a situation? Is there an area of your life that seems maybe a little cloudy, that you can bring some of these balanced air qualities to? If so, I just encourage you to maybe spend 2 to 3 minutes each morning in a comfortable seated position, just allowing yourself to follow, asking yourself this question or this contemplation, and just allow yourself to witness the stream of your thoughts. Where does it go? What we're doing here is just really allowing ourselves the deliberation about the cause and effect. And then the final analysis. So again, following that thread, cause, effect, final analysis, reflection, and contemplation. These are all ideas of vichara. The next question is, what is your relationship with your mind, your thoughts, and your emotions? So again, these are great kind of starting places, gateways that you can begin to explore vichara. And vichara leads to viveka, which is clear sight, or also translated as discernment or discrimination. This is the discernment between what is real and what is unreal, that idea of reality versus illusion. And looking back at that dragonfly and the qualities of the dragonfly, the master of light, illusion, and the mind. The dragonfly is a symbol, again, of the mind because of its mobility. And it's a reminder to find stillness, because in all of this movement, we see this play of light, this play of illusion. We're not sure what reality is. Is that dragonfly full of these beautiful jewel tones, or is it just this very neutral kind of coloration? However, when that dragonfly becomes still and we can really reflect on its aspects, the colors, we begin to see what it is really like, the truth, the reality. Same with the mind. When we are able to become still, turn the senses inward, the physical body will become still, the mind will quiet, the breath will deepen. Then we enter this place of discernment and discrimination, because then we can begin, especially if we've been practicing vichara, to understand the cause, the effect, and that final analysis. That final analysis is related to that viveka, that clarity, that insight that we've discovered. So this is also the understanding of the difference between the self, that divine nature, and the non-self, so the ego, or that which is not divine within us, as well as the permanent and the impermanent. So it's that study of seeing a circumstance for what it is, without any sort of interruption from the mind chatter, the mental chatter, that movement of the mind, and just finding that place of truth and quiet. And so this month, if you decide to begin to work with this dragonfly energy, I encourage you to really begin to first set a foundation. Begin to find where there may be some aspects of too much air. Maybe the mind, again, doesn't feel clear. It's moving a lot. It can't really rest on thoughts or hold on to something that you would like to remember or reflect on. And so bringing in things like deeper breathing, balancing the breath. So maybe you begin to balance the breath, matching the length of your inhale and exhale. And you can also begin to increase the length of your exhale. This is very grounding in nature. And so this will bring in that grounding aspect, especially of the earth element. And you saw that triangle on the dragonfly card, that it does call you to bring in that balancing aspect, to anchor that air element so that you can move from a place of stability. Resting practices, so things like yin yoga or restorative yoga or slower movement practices like just walking in nature, qigong, or something like yoga nidra or systematic relaxation where the body is still, the senses are turning inward. Just allow yourself to explore these first, and then you can really begin to have this anchor into vichara, this self-inquiry, and viveka, this clarity and this discernment. So I think that is it for the September bhavana and the dragonfly energy. We do have some, or I do have some wonderful events coming up. I'm doing, it's my personal cleanse period, the middle of this month and into October. I am now leading Nourish as a one-on-one offering. I'm going to skip the community aspect this month. There are details in the email newsletter, so certainly check that out below. And then on September 22nd, Thursday evening from 6:30 to 8:30 Eastern Time, Sarah from The Alchemistic and I are joining forces once again to bring you the Autumn Equinox Gathering. This is a virtual temple gathering where we'll explore Ayurveda, Yoga Nidra, tarot, the current astrology, goddess mythology, and so much more. We have a free gift for any of those that attend this time. You'll be able to take some rituals, some practices, some recipes with you to support and anchor you through this transitional change. This is a sliding scale offering, $10 to $30. Again, information in the email below, and registration link is also available. Also in October, every Sunday in October, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific time, I'll be joining forces with a fellow Yoga Nidra teacher, Jen. She resides in Colorado, so we are kind of expanding our offerings here to kind of cover different time zones and hoping that we can work together with you all. It's called Learn to Rest, Not Quit. And this is a yogic and Ayurvedic workshop for times of uncertainty and for feelings of overwhelm, which can quite often happen this time of year. Again, those mobile qualities of air, excess air quality is related to this feeling of anxiousness, not being grounded. And so a lot of us are affected by seasonal affective disorder. We can feel kind of that approaching. We're coming into an election season, which has been very, very stressful for a lot of us the past several election seasons. And so with the current climate around politics, around the economy, around the climate, this is certainly kind of, it can be a period that we feel overwhelmed in or unclear. So these are going to be 75-minute workshops each Sunday where we will spend a little bit of time chatting about what these practices, but more importantly, these are times that we'll gather together to experience these practices. So we'll be guiding you through short practices that you'll be able to take with you and build upon throughout the month of October to support you, to nourish you, to anchor you in, and to create some clarity and some groundedness. Again, there's some information below. We'll have a registration link available soon. So keep checking back. And as always, if you have questions, comments, feedback, please feel free to reply to the newsletter. You can comment here in the vlog comment section. And thank you so very much for tuning in. It's great to have your support. I hope to work with you soon, see you soon, and take care.